It was back on January 30th, 2003 in Monterey that I got news John Thomas Killip, my dear friend from in Monterey, had killed himself. And it led me to a different path. I never thought about this journey to discover my roots, both in America, Gold Mountain, in China, the Middle Kingdom. And of course, of this path, I discovered the true roots of myself, of being Chinese, of being American. And I really discovered the mystery of my father, because honestly, we had a very disconnected relationship. He never told me or my brother Michael anything about his life in China or his life in America. All we knew was he brought us to restaurants to eat, to markets, things of that nature. But we never got in depth about his story. And during the course of the past 15 years, I've found an amazing legacy that I really now appreciate him so much, of the sacrifice.
Okay.
And struggles he had to bear from 1922 to 1979. But fortunately, I found traces to the National Archives, to memories of his colleagues, to my villagers in China, of his story, his struggle, both in Kaiping, in Guangdong province, and America. And it created a story I never knew about between America and China, Gold Mountain, and Kaiping. And it's an amazing journey that I could go back. Even before him, my grandfather, Moy Chung, my great-grandfather, Hoi Lin Chung, my great-great-grandfather, Bang Yun Chung, my great-great-great-grandfather, Chung Chun Chung, that it covers an amazing course of American history, from the gold rush in California to the Transcontinental Railroad, from California to Utah, to Boston Chinatown, to Central Square in Cambridge, to Little Tokyo in Los Angeles, to San Francisco Chinatown, and to the famous iconic Far East Cafe in Little Tokyo. It's just so much richness in this texture of this story. I never thought about where I came from, how I came over here. I was just living myself as a ABC, American-born Chinese, as a Juxing bamboo. I knew I was Chinese, but my elders never told about the stories of the paper sun, and found out the world of the National Archives somehow had Chinese immigration files, and it was because of the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. Before 1882, there was no formal system of documenting arrival departures. The only remnants or trace would be ship logs, whether who's departing, who's arriving, and most of the time they messed up the names, the actual transliteration of the names, and sometimes they just treated Chinese as cattle, 10 Chinese, 20 Chinese, and the records could be also lost, destroyed over time. So it's very hard to retrace that. You can get a rough inkling, what kind of ships they arrived, what ships they departed, the system was in place, but it'd be very difficult to find the exact time when he arrived, the exact time when he went back. I found his records of his journey from Kaiping to Hong Kong to Vancouver through Canada to Boston in 1932. And that was an amazing journey, reading that story, looking at those pictures of him being a young 10-year-old child, going with his paper father as a paper son, as an illegal immigrant to somehow come to Gold Mountain, America. That was an amazing journey. I can imagine. It took 1 whole month. The time he left from the village to the time he stayed in Hong Kong. They took the sailboat across to Canada, to Boston. But then suddenly I had an urge to go back to Hoi Ping in Guangdong province, to go back to the village where my father came from. My roots, his roots, my forefathers' roots. And all we had was the name of a village in Chinese, Yilonggong. All we had was a name. And we asked the people in Hoi Ping, and we found a driver who agreed to hunt down for that village. And I was so amazed. Hoi Ping is a gorgeous tapestry of ponds, valleys, and farms. And then suddenly I saw some castles, or what they call dialogues, that would stood along the village. And finally we found our village, Longgonglong. And the moment we got into the village, unannounced, and there's commotion. People were asking from the ancestral hall, who's here? Who are these strangers? And I said, hey, we're from America, Gold Mountain. I'm you. And there was tears of joy. I felt so exuberant, so excited. And that led me to a different path of myself, learning the history of the village and the culture of the living in the village. For them, it's me being a fallen leaf from across America, returning home, and that me come back to them. I have not forgotten them. I remember them, and I'm respecting our mutual ancestors, our relatives. It was the line dancers were all the way through the whole program. They trailed me as we proceeded to the house, and they tracked us up to the tomb, and they're actually performing, dancing, like, cool. That was so neat. With the firecrackers too, and they had that experience too, like, wow, that was spectacular. And it's a solemn moment to show respect for, I realize these are generations dating back to the 18th century of my forefathers and me coming all the way from America to show my respect. And I realized the sacrifice, the struggles in China and in America. And it's amazing me to see a blend of both America and China, because 3 of those people in those tombs went to America and they died in China. So there's a connection, a physical connection there with America. It's what's called an ancestral tradition of generations and families. And especially what's unique in China, in this part of China, each village is a surname, family, whereas up north it's a mishmash of the other family. Here, it's a strong tie that goes generation back to 1506 AD to the village. So it's very long and very hearty connection. It's not a one-night thing. It's many generations back to 1506 AD. Just to be in my presence, to be there, to show respect, to honor my forefathers. That's really important. That's very essential. I had some guides, my cousin, the elderly ladies. They knew how to guide me properly, how to do the offering of the foods, the rice wine, the joss sticks. It was really important because Chinese believe in tradition, protocol, custom, procedure, and any deviation from that would be a sin or a violation of that respect. So you have to adhere to those rules and regulations properly. And these wonderful people guided me all the way from the moment I entered into the plaza to the time I left the village. Everything was properly done with love and care. For me, a bamboo, a banana, a fallen leaf. But in their hearts, they're very fond of me because I represent them across America and Gold Mountain. The dialogue, it was chaos, pure chaos, because I had 10 people I want to interview. They all was there to be interviewed at the same time. So I didn't get much out of it, but it showed their dedication to be there, to see me, to share their experience, their knowledge with me. It was just the mere act of just meeting me in the hall and in that table, just to talk about. Even though there was not what we call substantial information, because the reality, all the elders I knew in 2007 are all dead. Those people had, at that time, when I first arrived in November 27th, shared all the stories at that time. Fast forward 10 years later, sadly they're all dead. So I miss them. I miss their time, their talks with me, especially one particular man. I became very close to him.